Hey everyone, Enrique here. Welcome to another review. Once again, we are taking a look at X-Men 97 and we are taking a look of episode 2 of the second season, which is called Strange Land Savage Heart. This is the episode that reintroduces a lot of the original members or a lot of the original characters from the original show. In this case, we get the reintroduction of Graydon Creed, Colossus, and the Acolytes. And we also see how they're handling this new world, how the team of X Corp are and dealing with all this, the beliefs of Nightcrawler taking into account, or at the very least, taking to the test when he has to defend his own brother and a lot more. So let's take a look. What is the episode about? Well, it's pretty much the acolytes of Magneto kidnapping Graydon Creed Graydon Creed Jr., who is at the very moment starting to make the candidacy to become the president of the United States of America. Scary times indeed, considering what we know about Graydon Creed and what he could be capable of. In any case, the Acolytes of Magneto doesn't want Graydon to succeed, so they kidnap him and demand to liberate a lot of the mutants held by the government for liberation in the name of Magneto. One of their leaders, Exodus, makes these demands, and upon realizing that one of the members is Colossus, Nightcrawler alongside Rogue, Beast, Bishop, and Polaris make the decision to go to the Savage Land. This Savage Land already familiar to them. They decide to go there and try to talk some senses into the acolytes, but it becomes like a battle of ideas and beliefs. In this case, we see Nightcrawler's beliefs of redemption taken to the test now that he has to defend his own brother, that a person that he considers mutants to be abominations. So in this case, things are getting from bad to worse, and it is only up to the X Corp to stop the acolytes, but it's up to Colossus to make the final decision. So it's a lot of intrigue, a lot of discussions, and a lot of action. Now let's talk about the things that happened and are the highlight of this episode. For example, Graydon Creed's return. So if you don't know who this guy is, he was the founding member of the Friends of Humanity group, in which it was a self-cult believing that only humans are the dominant species. And thus, he created this group and this activist cult in order to combat mutants, believing that if he takes a stand, that all the mutants will be gone and the humans will be the dominant species again. But unfortunately for him, he has to deal with a lot of things from his past. Keep in mind, the name Graydon Creed, if you're familiar with, is the name of Sabretooth. And Sabretooth is the father of Graydon. So that makes a lot of internal conflict for the guy, and is making him more angry and more relentless. And this whole thing happened in the original show. It is also revealed during the 4th season of X-Men, in which it was also revealed to us that not only is Graydon the son of Sabretooth, but also the son of Mystique. So yeah, Mystique and Sabretooth had something in the past, and that led to the conception of Graydon. But not only that, he's also the half-brother of Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler. And to an extended degree, Graydon is also the half-brother of Rogue. So there's a lot of family trauma in this episode and in previous ones as well. But needless to say, ever since that episode, we haven't seen Graydon Creed make an appearance until now. Now, with the whole world once again on a divided stand, he wants to become president of the United States in order to put in prison or to eliminate all mutants. His beliefs are pretty much what comes into conflict in this episode, and it's making everybody, well, a little nervous because he's pretty much, let's just say this. If I had to compare him with Sabretooth, I would say that Sabretooth is like Mother Teresa compared to Graydon. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of themes of abuse that he suffered at the hands of Sabretooth, and he, ever since then, had a grudge against all mutants because of his past. But man, if you've seen the original show, you know that this guy is unhinged. His hatred towards mutants is almost, to lack of a better word, uncanny. Like, you don't know what this guy is capable of, and it's just very scary. I mean, I'm really not gonna lie. Graydon Creed, if he ends up becoming the president for season 3, is gonna make a whole lot harder for mutants to keep up with freedom. And I honestly believe if he does that, the X-Men, X-Corp, X-Factor, X-Force are all going to be in trouble. But now let's talk about the return of another character, and in this case is Colossus. This is not just a story for Kurt, aka Nightcrawler, but also the story of Colossus, real name Pyotr Rasputin. This is a Russian mutant who, in the original show, was trying to free his country from Omega Red. Now, we already saw Omega Red in this season. If you want to know where, you can check out my review of episode 6 of the second season. But needless to say, it was good that he returned. But now things are different. Unlike in the original show, in which he had everything like resolved on his country, his sister was okay, his family was okay, and he managed to stop Omega Red. Turns out that this episode turns us into, how can I say this? What was it called? Like a retroactive continuity. He, alongside his sister Magic, were all at Genosha when, the Wild Sentinels started to attack and cost the lives of a lot of people, including mutants. It turns out that during that moment, the Wild Sentinel killed Magic, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very upset because Illyana Rasputin, aka Magic, is one of the most beloved characters in all X-Men lore. But yeah, it made Colossus really depressed, and because of that moment, he joined the Acolytes of Magneto. Now, the Acolytes of Magneto, we already saw them, like I said, in the original series. They were the ones who were there to support Magneto and his quest, believing that he was the true leader for mutant race. But the circumstances, including, a guy named Cortez, which I already mentioned, didn't end up good for them. Regardless of that, they still support Magneto and his cause, and learning upon his death, they're still united, and with Colossus there and under the leadership of Exodus, they're making moves of their own. In this case, they set up an entire base and colony on the Savage Land. The Savage Land, for those who don't know, is one of the most important places in the Marvel Universe, not just for the X-Men, for all heroes and villains in the Marvel Universe. This is an island that is inhabited by dinosaurs and cavemen, and it made a lot of appearances in the second season of X-Men. This is one of the most strangest places that the acolytes decided to make a base on. So, yeah. But going back to Colossus, well, he's still, under a different, on a different team with different ideas. He's still that warm, fuzzy character that I remember of. And something that I didn't notice until I saw the episode is that the voice actor for Colossus, Robert Cate, was the original voice of Colossus in the original show. And honestly, I know if you listen and compare the two voices, you know that they're still the same character. I gotta be honest, it was good for the actor to come back and still bring that aura of warmth but also of strength that Colossus always needed. Now, one of the highlights of this episode not only was his entire view on the world right now and his sadness and grief that he suffered by the death of his sister, but also with the interactions between him and Nightcrawler. Let me tell you, Nightcrawler and Colossus are like really friendly characters that do understand and get along with each other. I really am glad that I got to see them interacting, talking, and be friendly with one another despite all the circumstances. And I have to say, with season 3, I want more Colossus and Nightcrawler scenes of them just being warmth, compasses, and being the hearts of the entire X-Men. And that's something I'm really looking forward to. Speaking of hearts, let's talk about what is going on right now between Bishop and Polaris. So, I didn't mention it in the last episode, but I started to notice that they were pairing Polaris and Bishop a lot more than I thought they would. Because, well, if you remember, Polaris was fired from X Factor. She could no longer be there, so she rejoined the X-Men, now rechristened X-Corp, and now she's helping them with the missions. But now we see her alongside Bishop. They get lost in the Savage Land, and by the interactions with one another, they start to, I don't know, but develop a romantic feeling. I don't know what it is. I don't know what made the showrunners decide that they need to pair Polaris with Bishop. I don't know if they happened in the comics. I don't think it happened. Maybe I'm wrong. But I gotta say, I can see the chemistry between them. Like, I can see Bishop and Polaris have a relationship. They're both rebel-like characters who are willing to go through hell and high water to not only save people's lives, but also to stop the threat at all cost. Now, with the episode of seeing the X-Men losing their powers, in particular with Polaris and Bishop, although in the case of Bishop, he absorbs so much power that if he doesn't release it, he could die or explode. We saw it happen before in the movies, so it could happen. In any case, Bishop and Polaris are now helping in the outside and trying to free their comrades into this moment, and that just shows them having more interactions. I gotta be honest, because of what happened to Polaris in the original show, how she left Bobby and joined X Factor alongside Havoc, in which she revealed that she fell in love with him. Now, with this relationship, I kind of wonder what will Alex think of all of this, because you know that if they ever come into contact with him, it's gonna be complicated. But hey, X-Men is not just an action show, it's a soap opera. And speaking of soap operas, let's now revert to one of the moments that we see in this episode, which is the kangaroo trial that they made for Graydon Creed. Of course, there's a lot of mutants from the original show and ones that didn't make an appearance and you only saw them in the comics, but they're all there to pretty much punish Graydon Creed and make him like be it's sent into trial for all the misdeeds that he has done. This is pretty much all the ideologies of Nightcrawler and Exodus colliding because they want to make the case to Colossus, who's the preceding judge, in which they want to define who Graydon Creed is. So, in the side of Exodus, he wants to, punish Graydon for being a mutant hater. Obviously, he wants to kill him, make him be an example for all humans to never underestimate the mutants. But all the while, Nightcrawler is making the case for Graydon, in which he, despite his hatred towards mutant, Nightcrawler makes the case that it's not just about mutants; it's about his own past, how he was tortured, how he was abandoned, how he grew this resentment simply because he didn't have powers. And we get to see the psychology of Graydon be displayed in front of people because yeah, the guy is really bad. He's really evil, but it's pretty much under the circumstances that he was that made him that way. Now, obviously, many people will argue about how this kind of circumstances defines a person. People will probably say, no, that's not it. Others will say, yes, that's the point. But here's what Nightcrawler makes the stand. Yes, Graydon Creed is evil and he is bad towards mutants, but it's only because he had people that made him into the man that he really is. Mystique for abandoning him, and with Sabretooth for literally punishing him every day, channeling all the emotions of a mistreating father into a kid, and how that resentment made him into a bitter person. Now, Graydon is not the first one to receive abuse. Believe it or not, Sabretooth in the original show revealed that he suffered also elderly abuse from his father because of being a mischievous kid. His father, Jeremiah Creed, pretty much beat him, mistreated him, abused him, and he channeled all those abuses tendencies towards Graydon as well because he doesn't believe that he is a successor. Hell, in the last episode, in the episode 5, sorry, it wasn't 6, it was 5, but in episode 5, Sabretooth revealed he should have killed the kid when he had his chance, which shows you he's not a father figure. He's just a guy who is pretty much relenting to his basic instincts. And same goes with Graydon. He just wants to serve the anger and resentment that he has towards his parents and release it on all mutants. So that's what this trial is trying to expose. Is Graydon the monster that he believes that mutants are all people that he wants to kill? Or is there something deep? And that is what Nightcrawler is trying to prove to Colossus and everybody there. And this is one of the things that this episode focuses on. Nightcrawler's beliefs. I gotta say, after Cyclops and Jean Grey and Cable being my favorite X-Men of all time, I gotta be honest, Kurt Warner, Nightcrawler, is one of my favorites as well. He's pretty much on my top 5. And the reason why is not just because he has the coolest powers of all and because he has a great look, but because he's one of the most hopeful characters alongside Colossus that I have ever seen. And the voice actor, he really made a great job of making a Nightcrawler into not only a really warmth character, really charismatic, but also really, really, good. That's the best description that I can give to Nightcrawler. He's just pure. He's that heart that the X-Men needed in their team. And the fact that he's there and making a case for his half brother, colliding with Exodus, being friendly with Colossus, and just trying to help his sister Rogue and everything, it just shows you that we need guys like Nightcrawler in our lives. This is a man who had a lot of things happen to him. He was rejected by Mystique as well, but instead of letting that anger and that sadness consume him, he got a lot of good things in his life. His adopted parents in the circus, the people that he met in the monastery, he became a monk after that. And he was one of those people who devoted his life to God. Most people have their different beliefs, but one of the things that makes me sympathize with Nightcrawler the most is that he's a very Catholic person. Let me tell you, if him and Daredevil meet, they will become best friends instantly because they both have the same belief that yes, everybody can be redeemed. Yes, there is a plan made by God, and everybody could be friendly with one another. I'm a Catholic myself, so I can see his points. I can see his entire perspective. Of course, I'm aware that there are bad people in the world, and that's something that Nightcrawler also struggles as well because he is also having to face with the reality of his own half brother. He faced it before. This is not the first time they met. And this is something that Nightcrawler is now having to deal with again, but now making a case for his own brother, a half brother in any case. And I gotta be honest with you, I really, really love Nightcrawler after this episode. If I didn't love it before, I love him more now. He is one of those characters that we need in our lives. We need somebody like Nightcrawler to help us rise through hate, through anger, through frustrations and all those negative emotions. He is making people better by just being there, believing in God, but believing in people as well. And that is something that Colossus also has to recognize. While the case didn't persuade him, he knows that Ileana would have been persuaded as well. And that is more than enough. Because, yeah, Colossus even acknowledges that while he still has his own reservations about everything that has happened, including with Graydon Creed, he knows that Ileana, his sister, would have thought otherwise. And for him, honoring the sister that he lost during the worst moments in mutant history, that's more than enough for him to be on the side of the X-Men. And that is one of the things that makes his relationship with Nightcrawler very special. I need more scenes of Colossus and Nightcrawler just being there for the team, being there at all costs, and be the voices of conscience and heart that this entire show needs for every single season. All right. With all that being said, and all those entire retrospectives of the characters are already being said and done, let's move on to the final part, and that is X Force discovering Apocalypse's body. So, is he dead? We all know that's not true, but let's, for the sake of not spoiling the next episode, say that he might be. What is going on next? Well, here's the thing. Even though Apocalypse could die, he could transfer his conscience into another body. We saw it before in the original show when he transferred his conscience into the body of Cortez. Now we see his body exposed into the same table in which he used to resurrect Gambit. And now the question is, what was his end game for Gambit? What was the end goal? Everybody knows that he wanted to create another force of horsemen that he could call upon and use for his own means. And now that he has resurrected Gambit as the Horseman of Death, you gotta wonder what the hell happened for him to ended up like that, and how will these information affect our heroes, considering that yeah, their friend is dead but now has come back to life, and how would it affect Rogue, because of all people she feels the most guilt because of what happened between her, Gambit, and Magneto. And that is something that is probably gonna come into collision in the next episode, because you gotta wonder the guilt that Rogue feels because she realized too late that it wasn't love that she felt for Eric. It was more of a connection because they could touch each other. That she made her realize that there are things deeper than skin. And that is what we are going to face in the next episode. But for now, let me just say that Strange Land Savage Heart is another great episode from X-Men. Definitely is good to see two of my favorite purest characters interacting. Seeing Graydon Creed makes the tension even much higher. Seeing the relationships develop and grow throughout this episode is also great. It's also good to see a lot of the mutants that we saw in the original show and in comics make an appearance here. It's good to see the Savage Land once again, and I'm curious of what is going to happen now that we saw what we saw in the episode. So that's my recommendation if you're curious. I hope you guys enjoy this review, and like I said, next week we're going to see what happens with the resurrection of Gambit and what this could lead into the future. Until then, I'm Enrique, and I'll see you next time. Peace.